Rick McCallum called me from Barcelona, where he was working on the episode directed by Terry Jones, Barcelona 1917. He asked me if I could go to see them. And so I went to meet George Lucas and Rick in Barcelona for lunch. I was living in the States at the time. So George had his arm in a cast at the time because he had just fallen somewhere. And of course, I was a big fan of the man and of his work, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and I expected him to talk about the series. But in fact, we never even approached the subject. And I didn't see, what that had to do with anything. And I started to think, incredible, those guys that just brought me to Barcelona to talk about the First World War. So I felt fairly comfortable. But even so, I was wondering when they were going to get to the point, But in fact, they left it at that. I flew back from Barcelona, happy because I had met George Lucas, but a little lost. When I got home, I found a message from my agent telling me that they wanted me to direct 2 episodes. The first was on the Battle of Verdun, and the second one, in which Indy meets Picasso. So I realized at that point that I had been put through a sort of exam, something like that.
At Verdun, one of the worst battles of the war.
We are going to retake Fort Douaumont. We attack here. The north side.
The script was designed to have, kind of a comparison. The generals were having dinner and sending men to slaughter. So the only thing I did then was to emphasize that with my camera work. This is basically what George Lucas loved most in the episode, is the blocking. The way I was using camera moves and movement of the actors combined, like a choreography, to try to find a way to bring the idea that there were not poor people and rich people. It was a question of power. Who gives the order and who actually deal with the shit?
German shells and your couriers are infiltrated with German spies. I've dealt with the problem, General. New couriers. Belgians. Belgians? They are an inferior lot. Can you depend on them? Why don't we see what they can do?
I'd like to send someone with an order to attack Fort Douaumont.
Fort Douaumont. An attack on the north side. I have no objection. I will await the results.
Monsieur le Maréchal.
Yes, General?
You can't authorize another attack from this position.
I just have.
Just like that. An attack of this magnitude must be planned to the last detail. This is not a recommendation. I insist upon it.
You insist.
I expect your support, General.
Thank you, General. I'll start the artillery barrage immediately. Dispatch to the front, Major. Give it to one of the new Belgian couriers.
You were chosen to replace Peter because you are not reluctant to attack. Don't let me down, Nivel. Succeed.
And so basically the idea is that using young Indy to get from one point to the next is the link, between those 2 universes. And he witnesses, and he's like a candid. He's going to see with his youngster eyes what war really is. Rick was on the set every day and would leave at the end of the day after the others had gone. So that's the kind of thing that inspires you. You have a genuine partner at your side, and since the budget is very tight, you have to handle a number of compromises. Rick's talent is that he gives you the choice of what kind of compromise you want to make. Instead of telling you it's going to be like that, it gives you the choice. And he says, for example, Rene, what do you prefer? That we build Indy's motorbike as it was at the time, with a local stuntman riding it, or to use a Czech motorbike that breaks down 9 times out of 10, but with Eddie Kidd, the world scrambling champion on it. You decide. Immediately I said, Eddie Kidd, Rene, the bike is gonna fall out of her. Yes, but if I get one shot with Eddie Kidd, it's gonna be incredible.
Out in 2 weeks, tonight or tomorrow. My men need new boots. At ease, Corporal. Second Army Command, sir. Oh, no. No. Come on. Damn it. Answer. The telephone line to the trenches is down. Are you a fast runner, Corporal? Yes, sir. What's happening, sir? The guns you hear are ours. The attack must begin when those guns stop firing, or the enemy will have time to recover. If the enemy has time to recover.
Rick McCallum had told me, I have to tell you, Rene, that we're going to use stock shots for the Battle of Verdun. I said, what? We're going to use stock shots for the Battle of Verdun. Well, don't react like that. Just look at the footage. It comes from an Oscar winner on the Western Front. Look at the work, okay? And then we'll discuss. I take the tape. I go to the hotel. I just watch it. And I try to be very open, you know? I try hard. And I look at it. And of course, you have plenty of soldiers. You have like more soldiers than I will have. You have those shots, and they are all high-angle shots. High-angle shots. But this is not Verdun. Verdun is at the level of the deads. That's where the camera should be, at the level of the deads. It's going to be awful like that. And they're going to use that in every single show because they're going to use the same stock shots. So I was mad as hell. And I try not to be because I had to find a way to convince then Rick. So I went there and I said to the first AD, give me the schedule. And there was 1 day of travel. And I said to the first AD, what is this day of travel? Why there is a day of travel? And I go inside and I said to Rick, I need to see you. Can you come with me outside? And he said, Rene, I'm having lunch. Yes, I know. But it's something urgent and I need you. You're my producer. You can have lunch later. So can you come with me, please? And he said, of course, Rene, of course, I'm going to come with you. So he gets out and I said, this is Verdun. He said, what? I said, this is Verdun. We're going to shoot Verdun here. And he said, Rene, are you kidding me? I mean, there is Prague in front of us. There is the pillar over there, and there is the bridge over there. Not to mention the studio just behind us, you know. And I said to him, the studio is north. I never shoot north. It's front light. It's ugly. I'm never going to shoot towards the studio. And he said, of course, yeah, okay. But what about Prague? What about the pillar? What about the highway? I said, put your eye at the level of the deads. We're going to turn, and it was all earth, right? It was not concrete or, it was earth. We're going to turn that upside down. You're going to make trenches here. And so with the ups and downs of the field, the Prague is going to disappear. The highway is going to disappear. Everything's going to disappear because the camera will be where it should be, at the level of the deads, because that's Verdun. And he looked at me and he says, we have 14 days, Rene. Yes, we do. And we also have 1 day of travel that we don't need to use, and people are paid during that travel. So instead of traveling and spending gas and trucks and everything, we're going to shoot here. Yes, but what about the extras? I need 100. Yeah, 100, but 100 French. No. I need 200 costumes, 100 extras. Shoot the French side, and then I'm going to change costumes, and I'm going to shoot the German side.
Welcome to Verdun, Corporal.
He's like coming back from war, and his suit is all dirty. You know, those decisions that we can make on the set. You know, this guy just, go wash yourself. And the guy, he comes back from war, and the other one is perfect in his uniform. By showing this,
you're dirty. Clean up and get down the stairs.
you emphasize the subject, you emphasize the story, but the story is already there. The real creator here is not myself. The real creator is George Lucas and the writer, because they actually put that down on paper. And so it is because this is there that basically I can be inspired by just trying to transform that into pictures and sound and expressions, and direct the actors and explain to the actors what I feel about the script.
The report from the Sector 4, sir.
How much ground was gained?
None, sir.
What's that, Major? I thought you said none.
I did, sir.
Tell Colonel Bach to have himself in my office at 6 a.m. That will be all, Major.
Yes, sir.
How many men did you lose?
Obviously not enough.
Leaving, General? The main course hasn't arrived.
I've had enough.
I'm expecting you later, General. I'd like your contribution.
So I hear you went to the front.
Yeah.
Not so nice, is it?
No.
When I'm reading the script, the scene is there, which is, I say, this is a fantastic way of explaining how this complex war, why is it going on, which is kind of stupid at the beginning. The way we have to explain that to the audience, since we are educators here, more than storytellers. If we want to put ourselves in George Lucas' shoes, we have to be educators.
France is on the left. Russia is on the right. The sausage is Germany, okay?
Then we added up some little pluses, bonuses, like when he says, he talks about Serbia and he has the tomato in hand. Then I ask him to put salt on the tomato and eat the tomato, you know.
When the Archduke of Austria is assassinated in Serbia, Austria threatens to invade Serbia.
What about Germany?
Germany, as an ally of Austria, declares war on Russia and an ally of Serbia.
But we're fighting in France.
Yes, indeed we are.
The tomato, the potatoes, the sausage for Germany, you know, we're going to actually see that in close shot and very close shot, since we are on TV and not on the big screen. Yes, it's beautiful, but we're on a small screen, so get closer. Because people need to understand that. It's not just going to be pretty. It has to be understood by people. It's like we're telling a lesson. We're not telling a story.
So we're fighting to protect Serbia, a tiny country no one's ever heard of. That's what this war's all about? Dear Ned, interested to hear of your struggles against the Turks and Germans in the Middle East. I'm at a place called Verdun. This trench warfare is hell. The men either run straight into machine gun fire or wait for the next artillery barrage to drop on them. They're like animals being led to slaughter, and I can't understand. I can't understand why.
The scene on the script was in a hospital. So when I did my research, my personal research, apart from the one that Gavin Bouquet, the production designer, was doing, I did my own. And when I just looked at photos and when I read letters from soldiers on the front, and I realized that the hospitals, people were dying so fast that the hospitals had not place anymore. So they were transforming basically every space available into hospitals. And I saw photos where there was a church, and said, I went to Rick and said, I want to do that in the church.
Private, control yourself. Restrain him.
No! No! No!
Stop!
He's a danger to himself and others.
No, he's not.
And so basically we just scouted, and look again, and then the art director, transformed it into what it is. But the idea was basically to fight, and that's my job as a director, when I have a good idea, to fight to convey that to the screen. Because I know that whatever, the pressure is, at the end of the day, when George is going to look at the dailies, he's going to say, wow, that's fantastic, that's even better.
You're a genius.
Did the surgeon really leave it in? Remy. Remy?
No. They got it out. I don't want to go back to the trenches. They'll send me back if I feel well. So I'm not going to feel well. I'm not going.
Remy, listen to me. You have to let it heal. If you make it worse, they'll find out, and you'll end up in front of a firing squad.
My food. This in charge. I'm in charge!
Remy, you have to pull yourself together, okay?
Okay. I'm all right.
I have to go now. I'll come back as soon as I get a chance.
Here we are suddenly flirting again with the Indiana Jones trilogy. We're flirting in terms of, designing some action. The only difference is that there is not a popcorn tone in it. It's serious, that the guy can die, that the Fokker plane can kill him, as opposed to in Young Indy, there is in the Indiana Jones, there is kind of a popcorn good feeling. It's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. It's another type of tone. And here, the tone that George wanted was not the Indiana Jones tone. He wanted a serious tone. We were talking about World War I, so it's not funny. We had 14 days to shoot each episode. So suddenly there was more pressure to actually get the action that we needed, because it was the only moment where the action was not just spectacular, but it was educational. Constantly, Rick was reminding us that it was not a TV version of the Spielberg movies. It was something else. So when I read the script of Verdun, I went to Rick and I said, Rick, I'm not going to shoot those action scenes soft because it's educational. I have to shoot them wild. I have to shoot them raw, just to show people what war is. That war is not a pretty picture. That war is awful. And if the kids can get that now, maybe we save some lives later. With Sean, he had a problem working with me on the set. Maybe my English was not as good as it is supposed to be today. He couldn't understand at the time what I was after. And he never complained about anything. I could feel that it was like lukewarm between us, because of the fact that he was kind of doubting maybe what I was doing. And a few months ago, he did an article in a newspaper, and he said that the best episode for him is Verdun. And he said in this article that he had doubted me on the set. I discovered everything because Rick sent it to me. He said, Rene, just look at what Sean is saying, Sean Patrick is saying. And he says that everything I told him was making sense when he actually saw the movie. And he was basically not sad, but he looking back, he could regret, in a way, the fact that we didn't share more. But he was a professional on the set. He never complained about anything. He didn't do any whimsical stuff, or he was dead on, The only thing I could see in his eyes when I was asking him to do something, that he was going to do it, but he didn't get it, But actually, it is his favorite episode today. So that was a good gift for me. I thank Rick to send me that, because I did my job, and at the end George was happy with the cut. My producer Rick was happy on the set. But I don't work the same way. Every single director has his own style. And he had done several episodes with other directors, English-speaking directors as well. And so I think it's maybe a problem of language barrier. It didn't stop me from communicating with Rick at the same time, even asking stuff. But maybe with Sean Patrick, there was something. But everything I asked him to do, and also I'm very precise on camera moves, and I love to combine the blocking of the actors and the camera move. So for certain actors, this is
this could be something that takes freedom out of them a little bit, because suddenly they are in a choreography, and maybe that also is part of the problem. But at the end, it's beautiful, and it tells the story even more.
You need an interpreter.
You've got a lot to learn, my young friend.
Ik habe mich in London gemeldet und sah die Aktion im Norden. Obwohl ich als Korporal in der belgischen Armee diene, freue ich mich sehr, dass ich unter der französischen Kommandatur eingereiht bin. Es ist mein Pflicht, der französischen Armee die Deutschen ausstreifen zu helfen.
That's enough. You weren't boasting, Corporal. Your accent is excellent.
Thanks.
It's noble for you to volunteer for this. French army will be indebted to you. Indeed, entire French people will be indebted to you.
Are you sure you want to do this?
I guess so. What is it you want me to do anyway?
You're 150 meters across. Stay low, don't be seen.
Find the command bunker and listen for anything about troop movements or attacks. Right? Corporal, one other thing. Germans don't take spies alive.
I'm shot in the legs and stomach. I can't walk.
How long have you been here?
Yesterday I had a visitor, but I took care of him.
I'll get you out.
Don't leave me.
I'll be back. I promise.
One thing that there is like a compromise to the general tone, and it's part of the script, and I think George likes that. So I mentioned it when I read the script, but then I said it's going to be like that the entire show. I mean, even though there is a serious tone, there is a moment where you're going to have like a cartoon wink to the audience. It's just part of Hollywood basically, and when he falls asleep, he's snoring. So, I played along, but for me, I would have shot it serious until the end. That's George. So I knew that George liked that. So we did it, And another thing that George invented, he wanted the actors to speak German. And so basically they could touch the reason why they need an interpreter. If suddenly they were speaking English with a German accent, we understand it. So it's very well thought. I mean, the entire show is like that. You have decisions like that are made, that are clear. It's not that I didn't decide that. It was with subtitles. It was written. And I could understand why. And another thing that George wanted at the very beginning, and we talked about it, in prep, was that for him, if you spoke English with a French accent, you were speaking French. If you were speaking with a German accent, you were speaking German. So he decided to use the accents instead of the subtitles during the entire show. Except for that scene, because there was a reason.
Let's go. How did it go?
The Germans are bringing up artillery, sir.
I don't need a spy to tell me that, Corporal.
Better listen to him, Colonel. They're bringing up 2 big Berthas.
What? Come with me right now.
Are you certain of what you heard?
Yes.
No exaggeration?
No. I mean, no, sir.
They're repeating the same story 3 times. Why would he lie?
I didn't say he lied. I asked if he exaggerated. Corporal Defense, you are a Belgian, hmm?
Yes, sir.
And you were recruited for this mission when?
Yesterday.
I recruited him, sir.
I'm not talking to you, Colonel.
It was great to have Ben Burt. The first time I met him, what I did, it was... He understood that I knew exactly where it was coming from. And you know, he said, the thing is with him is that having him basically, I think it's maybe the first cut that he's doing as a picture director. But he was so good, knowing that he was my editor. I said, would you mind, Ben, if I was to stay during the sound? Because suddenly I had this incredible opportunity to be the runner of a fantastic sound designer that would design the sound of my episode. And I had finished my director's cut, and the idea is that George then would take over, and I was back home. So he said, "Of course, Rene. I mean, yeah, you're more than welcome to stay." And so I went to see George and said, "George, I want to do, if you don't mind, to stay. I'm not going to disturb. I'm not going to disturb and do my director's thing. You know, I'm just going to follow it, because sound is the real difference between Europe and the States. It's not the picture, it's sound. Because in Europe, and it was in the 90s, in Europe, there is no sound designer. In Europe, the sound is an illustration of the picture. And when I know that when I give you the pictures, you tell me, thank you for the 50% of the show. That means that you're going to add 50% with the sound. So I want to be here when you do it, because I want to learn. And he said, welcome. You can stay, you know, as long as you want. So I stayed. And since I saw them working, I kind of was excited about the work, and I pushed them so hard, you know, into actually doing this and what about this. And at the end, they got an Emmy for that episode. They got an Emmy of the sound. And Ben called me and said, Rene, it's because of you. No. It's because of you, because you wanted more and more and more. And at the end, it's your episode that gets the award. But I say, well, you have an award, but I have taken a lesson, a great lesson, and it's going to help me in the movies to come.
That will be all, Major.
Aerial reconnaissance is my province, General.
I can order air reconnaissance when I think it necessary. In this case, I thought it was. I believe new orders are needed.
For what?
To cancel the attack, of course. You are going to cancel the attack?
We've already begun our bombardment.
What? Kolikov, cancel the attack.
I have orders to attack.
Nivelle, with those guns there, our men have no chance of success. The casualties will be 90%. If you let this attack go, knowing those guns are there, you are committing murder.
You do it then. You call off the attack.
Send in Major Murat. Take this to the front immediately.
Yes, sir.
Greetings. How have you been? Fair. I'd be much better when we retake Fort Douaumont. What's that? It sounds like the shelling stopped. It sounds like the shelling stopped, Nivelle.
Yes, it did, sir.
It's not time for the attack yet.
No, sir.
Then why aren't the gunners firing? The attack must be supported by artillery.
Yes, I understand that.
The reason why is because I ordered them to stop. I also ordered the attack to be cancelled.
You did what?
I cancelled the attack.
Nivelle, you're the commander of the Second Army. Did you agree to this?
Well, yes.
Your office now. I'm not interested in excuses, Nivelle. Ordered an attack, I want an attack. Get me Colonel Bark.
Colonel Bark.
This is General Joffre. I order you to resume the attack.
I won't, sir.
What?
I won't because I can't.
I'm the commander-in-chief of the army. I'm giving you a direct order.
And I am staring at an order canceling the attack. A written order, signed by General Pétain. A written order can be changed only by another written order. If you really are Commander-in-Chief Joffre, you'll understand because you wrote that regulation.
I want you to prepare for an attack. A written countermand, signed by me, will be arriving immediately.
Take this to Major Gaston. Tell him not to prepare for an attack, but wait until I give further orders.
Thank you, sir.
Take these to Sector 4 as fast as you can. They've ordered the attack to continue.
With the big guns. They can't.
Unfortunately, Corporal, they damn well can.
I don't care about your reconnaissance, General.
What possible military objective will be gained by this?
There are bigger issues than this attack involved. You could hardly understand. Fort Douaumont is a symbol of national pride. The public was shaken when the enemy captured it. When the public is shaken, the politicians have a problem. When the politicians have a problem, I have a problem. Is that clear enough for you?
That's all too clear, General.
it's a very graphic time. So, of course, we can have this approach, which is like an approach, art design approach. But actually, the approach that we should have for that is the story we're going to tell. And every single thing that we're going to have to produce as a design has to tell that story. And that story is not the story of the Battle of Verdun. The story is how come 3 people in a castle room can decide for the life of 10,000 people on snapping a finger. How come, even though there are orders, one single man, and it's the power of one single man can decide not anymore. And so this is basically the theme of Verdun.
Well, the orders never got there. Nobody ever found out what I did.
In the Verdun episode, Pétain appeared to be as a hero. I mentioned this to George Lucas when I first read the script. I said to him, I understand why the screenplay is like this, because in 1916 it was okay, but you have to keep in mind that in the bookends you have old Indy coming in, so he knows.
But after the war, Pétain became a politician himself and had a hard time indeed living up to his own moral code.
Young Indy didn't know, but old Indy, he knows what I know, and so it's a mistake. It's basically the biggest mistake you can do with this show is this one. And he had to redo an entire thing. You know, they had spent a year on that, but fuck that.
The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles will be right back. Next on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Expedition across the Congo?
We can expect to lose a lot of men.
What idiot thought this one up?
Just think of it as a little hike.
You would not leave this child if this was a white child.
Orders are orders.
One last time. Hand this child over.
Not request.
My men and I need passage to Cape Lopez.
It'll cost you, Sonny.